Hey folks, how we going? I've always had a soft spot for horror when it's combined with a dash of nostalgia, which is kind of what drew me to the game that we are talking about today. It's a game that sort of goes back to the American idea of the summer camp. I'm sure a lot of people remember their summer camps quite fondly, but in this game, rather than being a camper, you are a camp counselor. This is Sleepaway by J Dragon. Sleepaway takes place at a summer camp. Now, this is a camp that you and your friends are going to create together, and you're going to create the name and maybe a rough geographical location. We're actually given a few locations within the camp to explore and roleplay in, and more so what moods they evoke. These are the field, where the air is bright and open. Generally, action and movement-based scenes take place on the field, sporting events, maybe a race, that sort of thing. The woods are an older place, weighed down with memories. Generally, the scenes that take place here are mournful. Then there is the lake, a sort of place that's filled with secrets and danger. Each of these locations evokes its own sort of mood and emotional painting for the role players. There are suggestions on when to use these locations and when to leave, and what might happen here and what questions these locations bring up. There are other more liminal locations that are explored throughout the game as well, but these are the ones that are in the camp itself. There are some other setting elements, such as the campers who represent childlike innocence. Perhaps these campers will get named individually, or they will exist as a monolith. In this game, there's also magic, which is a strong but amoral force that is open to be used by any side. Then there is the strangeness, which is what they name the odd, unusual, and unsettling elements to the world. The strangeness is older than the camp, and older than the woods itself, and it exists on its own mysterious rules. At the beginning of Sleepaway, they address the colonialist history of summer camps in America. This is something that I, as an Australian, am not entirely familiar with, but really they just want the players to keep in mind that a lot of Indigenous place names or identities have been appropriated by white Americans for an element of fear or mystique, and as a game they do not endorse this whatsoever. It is a GM-less, diceless game. Rather than, say, filling out a character sheet, you choose an archetype of the type of character you would like to roleplay. Some of these archetypes are the athlete, the counselor, the crafter, the new blood, the lifeguard, and the songmaster. Every single one of these archetypes come with guidelines. There are 4 that are shared among all of these character archetypes that generally describe your general appearance, or more so your name or what's important to the character. The rest of these guidelines are unique to each character. For example, I really like the archetype of the counselor, who is asked to pick a reason why they almost left this camp altogether. A lot of these guidelines are designed to humanize your character, or perhaps reveal a little bit of vulnerability about them. I really like that to create your character, you must ask 2 other players questions about your character and their relationships to each other. These questions are very often honest and raw. There are some other archetypes you can play with that come from the strangeness. These are people that seem to be a bit lost to our concrete world. There's the found again, the guide, and the orchid. These guys aren't necessarily camp counselors, but they may have visited the camp, or they might be important to the location in another way. To play these characters, you have a set of moves that are available to each character and tend to be unique to each archetype. Strong moves tend to put you in a more secure place in a game. but they cost a token. Weak moves will generally leave you a little bit more vulnerable, but they will earn you a token to potentially spend on a strong move later. In this game, players are going up against the Lindworm. No one in this game actually plays the antagonist, and they emphasize that no one should be. Rather, the Lindworm is controlled by a stack of regular playing cards. In-game, players will take turns to channel the Lindworm. In these instances, they will draw cards from the deck and place them on the table in some obvious way that shows what the Lindworm is doing. Perhaps a card on a player's character sheet means that they are being attacked. Players then can work together to mitigate the Lindworm's damage or try evade its attacks. The different suits and numbers of cards do have meanings that are actually explained in the book. Generally, these meanings are more to do with mood and aesthetic. The Lindworm is an explicitly malevolent force that the camp counselors are working together to face. The Lindworm is an explicitly malevolent force that the camp councils are working together to face and defeat. There's something unique about this game that one of the materials required to play is a corkboard. On this corkboard will go locations, peoples, and names that you will connect using thumbtacks and string. Generally, this corkboard is used together to then string together the story of the Lindworm's harm and how the counselors will defeat it. This game actually sets out a separate structure for play for one-shots versus campaigns. Campaigns occur in roughly 3 stages: the surface, the descent, and the abyss. These 3 stages of the campaign are suggested to take about 6 sessions of about 3 to 4 hours to complete. In these 3 stages, the camp councils will become aware of the Lindworm, investigate the Lindworm, and face off with the Lindworm. The corkboard is used in the first 2 stages to link important places or information together in this investigation. One-shots tend to condense these stages into one and tend not to really have an end to the confrontation with the Lindworm. They tend to end on a more dour note. Then, to finish up a game session, you and the other players will actually engage in a ritual. These are sort of based around the things you might have done as a child at a camp. For example, I really like a moment of identity, which asks you to sort of play a little bit of truth or dare, or never have I ever. These rituals are designed to evoke a sense of nostalgia as well as vulnerability to honor the time that you spend with your friends playing different people. I will mention in the other things that are included in this book is a statement that this book is openly queer friendly. Because this is a horror game, the creator of this game has also gone over a couple of guidelines for consent in gaming, as well as perhaps how to navigate any pitfalls or uncomfortableness that comes with playing a horror-based game. This is a rather minimalistic book for art. Most of the art is kept to the headers of each page. I do think, though, it is all really interesting and evocative to the atmosphere of this game. I also have to say, the choice to print this book in black and white really contributes to the mood of the art more so, and doesn't detract at all. I paid about $60 for this book. Due to where I live on my side of the globe, import taxes and conversion rates, that's not entirely an unreasonable number. I have paid less for tabletop role-playing games, but I really enjoy the themes that are present in this one, and I know a few people that I'm really keen to play this with. I think if someone struggled with emotional vulnerability, this game would be really challenging for them and they might struggle to enjoy themselves. However, if you are in a group of people that you really trust who relish sort of the human drama and emotional vulnerability and connection between characters in roleplay situations, this game is an absolute must to pick up. It's also not a combat-focused game, so if someone is really into combat mechanics, this is probably also not the game for them. Well, that is all I have to say today. If you have any thoughts, opinions you'd like to share, please leave them down in the comments. I encourage you to do the YouTube algorithm things of subscribing and liking. They just encourage me to make more stuff. I've really enjoyed making today's episode, and I hope to see you next time at the gaming table. Bye!